Welcome to the Coach Craig Kenneth Show. I'm your host, Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm your co-host, Coach Victoria.
And on this show, it's a caller-driven show where we have callers share something that's going on with them and their life. It could be mental health related. It could be dating, relationships. It could be a problem with your boss. It could be a problem with one of your coworkers. So, we like to have you guys on, and we're going to have some information out there shortly to you on how to get on the show. There's been a lot of questions on how to do that. We'll put out a little video, but you can go to the website, and there's a page that says CK Show, the Craig Kenneth Show. Go on there, fill out the little form. Please make sure you go to the bottom and look at the instructions. Like, we are looking for some specific things, and when you follow that format, and it will only take you a minute to make sure you're doing the right format, you're going to be a lot more likely to come onto the show.
Yeah.
So please make sure you follow those instructions. Some of you have, some of you haven't, but it makes it a lot easier for us when we're trying to sort through and see who would be good.
Yeah.
So today we've got a caller. We're going to call her Ava. She's in her late 20s. She's going through a breakup, but there's an interesting twist. The twist is that she has been sharing her breakup story on Reddit for, 9 months? Being extremely vulnerable, thinking she's anonymous, but she hasn't been.
Yeah. And we know that many of you do go to the internet to find people like us, to find resources, to, talk to others about your situation. So the internet can kind of be your safe haven when your friends are tired of hearing the same breakup story every day. But there is, that trail that's left on the internet, so it can be hard to be completely anonymous at times.
Yes, so you got to be very careful. So we have Ava on the line. Ava, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. There's a long pause there.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for hosting me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your story, about your relationship, and, the length of it and how it was going, how we got to a breakup, and then we'll get into all the craziness that happened afterwards, huh?
Yeah, so basically I was introduced to him by a mutual friend in 2023. And we've dated for 2 years. He's younger than me by 3 years. Things started happening in the midst of 2024. We started having lots of fights, and I lost my job. And I went into a depression that kind of affected my whole life situation.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Did you notice any kind of theme to the fighting, the arguing?
It was always about alcohol.
Oh, tell us more.
So we both came from a conservative backgrounds. To me, alcohol is something that's not I think that I would go for, and I made it clear from the beginning for him. And he told me that he's also the same, but in the middle of the relationship, I found out that he was secretly drinking on a weekly basis with his friends.
Now, was that more than one time a week or just once a week?
It was actually more than that. It got to a point where he would drive while he was drunk.
Okay, so
I was
that's
with him.
some very dangerous, scary behavior. He could hurt somebody else or himself.
Yeah.
And did he think that it was an issue or no?
He thought it was, but he also downplayed it. It was always something that wasn't too big for him, but for me it was something that crossed my boundaries. So he would promise me to stop, but then he would go back to it and it would get worse.
What was your major my question for you though is, what was your major concern about the drinking? Because you said it crossed your boundaries. Was it because you were afraid he might get into an accident, or?
Yes, that. But I'm also, like I said, I came from a really conservative family, so alcohol wasn't a thing for us, and it was a kind of forbidden thing to have. I'm not that religious, but I just grew up like this.
Yeah, so it
So I
sounds like
think
it could
for
be a value thing.
Sure.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it sounded like at the beginning the expectation was, okay, we're both on the same page about this value. And then later down the line, things changed on his end, and him downplaying it probably made you feel more dismissed. Like, okay, do my values
Exactly.
not matter here? Do you not see the importance of this? Or this is something that's important to me, and I want you to understand how important it is to me.
Sure. And you
Yeah.
know, a lot of people, when they're first dating somebody, they're like, no, I would never drink.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're like, they have 50 bottles of alcohol in the trunk of the car.
Yeah, right.
But people are not very authentic about who they are in the beginning because they want you to like them. Then they get you hooked.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
So how did things progress? At what point did the two of you kind of reach that point where you started to distance from each other? What led to the breakup?
Um, we started having lots of financial arguments, and it was because I lost my job, so I was expecting him to support me during that time. And I was trying to get a new job, but the market was too down. So we had lots of arguments about alcohol, about money, and he had his financial situation, so I didn't know how much he had or how much his salary was. I was always scared that I'm gonna pressure him financially. So that's when I started telling him maybe we should stop talking, and maybe I should fix my situation before we can be together.
Interesting. You didn't feel like you could be in the relationship and work through your financial stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me
Yeah.
more about that?
I actually tried to reach out to other people, other friends, but I also noticed that when I'm in a relationship, I kind of isolate myself, so not so many people know about my situation.
Mm.
He started having fights with me whenever I tried to reach to other guys that I know, and he called that cheating, although it wasn't for me.
So
Um,
he was concerned that you would maybe latch on to other guys because they could or would be more willing to help you financially?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it sounded like you might have been afraid to be a burden on him. And then I could see from your end, you're saying, well, I'd rather not be in this relationship rather than be such a financial strain to my partner, which will lead to other issues down the line.
exactly, yeah.
Uh, I am curious now, you've been watching the channel for a while, right?
Yes, almost 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So do you have any thoughts about who has what attachment style or how you may have showed up in the relationship with each other?
I think in the beginning I used to be avoidant, and he was very anxious because every time I would leave him in an argument or whatever, he would call 90 times a day. He would
Mm.
call me 90 times a day, and he would send over 500 texts. I actually counted that. So he used to be the
500 texts?
yeah,
Wow.
Man,
yeah.
they could
So
start charging for texts again.
No more unlimited.
Yeah, he needs to be punished. Punished. That's crazy.
That is
500
a
times in
lot.
a day?
That is a lot.
yeah, yeah. So I think he used to be
How
the
could he?
anxious one.
Mhm.
You think? Wow. I mean, you know, you get a double text and it's a little bit like, come on, slow your roll.
500.
500, it's like
Yeah,
you must have been like, I mean, you must have really lost attraction in a lot of ways, right? You must have been like, oh, this is too much.
yeah, yeah. I did. I actually did. Yeah.
And so then
I mean, I would.
what changed from then? So then you said in the beginning it was like that. Did things shift over time?
I think when I lost my job, I also lost part of my self-confidence,
Mm.
and uh, it took a toll on me, and the role switched. I became the anxious one. I was scared of losing him. I was calling him all the time. I was asking about where he was and what he would do, and he became the avoidant one, and he started to pull back.
I see.
It's very interesting how behavior has such a huge impact on attraction,
Hmm.
right? You could see when he's doing it to you, you're turned off. You're probably thought about breaking up with him. I mean, who wouldn't? If somebody sends me 500 texts, I mean, that's just completely unreasonable,
Mm.
right? But then the
Mhm.
roles reverse. and then he loses attraction, but you know, he might not have the same level of patience and understanding that you did in the beginning.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we don't understand what it's like until we're in that person's shoes. You know,
Yeah.
when you're the person sending 500 texts, you're like, I just want to hear back from them. I just want to be around them. I want this to work. But when you're on the other side of it, it's hard to imagine yourself on the other side. You think, well, I'm always going to feel like this.
Yes.
So to remind yourself, things do kind of wax and wane over time, dynamics shift over time. So tell us a little bit about the breakup conversation. What was the grand finale?
It was the
On
501st text.
well, on January, he started being insulting, and I couldn't take it anymore. The job situation was enough for me. So I broke it off. I told him I don't want to. I actually broke it off on a text. I told him I don't want to
Wow.
see him again. I don't want to talk to him again. And he kind of went back to that anxious
Sure.
situation. But then he left me, but he kept on stalking me from afar. He actually came back on March, two months later, to have a fight with me because he heard that I was dating one of his friends, which was a lie.
Mm.
And he was also showing up unannounced in front of my house. And I didn't want a stalking situation going on because that would have been a stressing situation for me, adding to whatever I was going through. So I had to talk to his father instead of getting a restraining order.
Wow. Now you said he was insulting. What was he doing that was insulting or saying?
He would just throw little comments here and there to just devalue me. For example, on my birthday, he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, you're almost 30 years old. My family would never accept you." And that to me was so disrespectful. And there were also other comments regarding other things. He would compare me to other girls. He would say stuff that he shouldn't really have said. I don't really want to mention everything, but
Got it.
that's one example.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But you know what happens a lot of times is that because you were bombarding him with text messages, people assume that if your interest level goes high, that it will always be high.
Mm.
And so they take you for granted and then they start to mistreat you. So probably he started losing attraction for you because of your overwhelming behavior in text messages. So then he kind of just disregards you or like views you in a lower light. And then so he gets a little bit more insulting because he's not really afraid of the consequence.
And this is really what happens when
Yes.
there's these kind of power dynamics in a relationship too. In the beginning, you may have had more of the power with him being more of the anxious one, him being more the pursuer, but later down the line, it sounds like the roles flipped and now he felt that sense of power. Oh, now you need me. Now you're dependent on me. And it sounds like finding out even after the breakup that he had more than you realized. You can see that maybe your financial burden wasn't as much of a burden to him as originally thought. He might have just been having a little bit of a power play there.
Yes, exactly. I actually told him that. I said, "You're taking me for granted." I told him that multiple times because I felt it.
Mm.
Unfortunately, we can do that to ourselves in a way. In other words, we always have to really respect ourselves. And it can be really challenging because you care about somebody, you want to connect with them. But the irony is that, you know, if we want to prove our love or make it work so much that it overwhelms the other person, it doesn't make them care equally. In fact, it does the opposite and makes them kind of care less.
Right. And it could be such a slippery slope because in the beginning you might think, okay, well, maybe I'll just give them this or give them that. And then over time you start to lose yourself, which it sounds like this happened a little bit in your relationship. Or maybe in the beginning you kind of had that sense of self, your identity. Then over time you start cutting corners, making maybe too many compromises or too many compromises on core values that at a certain point you don't really even know who you are. So tell us a little bit about divulging on Reddit, because I think this is something that is a lot more common than people think. People divulge in our comment section. People probably will divulge in this comment section.
They're divulging as we speak.
So tell us,
Like in my break. Oh.
so tell us a little bit about what was said on Reddit. Tell us a little bit about that part.
So on Reddit, I started posting things because I felt secure and safe there. I started posting 7 times a day in details. Every time I would think about him, wake up depressed, I couldn't eat, my appetite was down. I would write things in details, and people would just reply to me in comments. And one of the posts I've made, it reached to 140,000 people or views.
Oh my
Wow.
So I was like,
goodness.
wow,
I hope you
I
mentioned
was
us
like,
in that video, in that post.
I was like,
You could
wow,
go back
people
and edit it.
actually care.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah, so
you felt really safe posting on there,
Mhm.
yes,
but you weren't safe, were you?
no.
Like hiding under the blanket when you're a kid. You think you're safe.
Well, I'm also curious on the post that reached 140K, what were the comments? How were other people responding, right? Because one thing about posting on the internet your side of the story and an ex potentially seeing that is they're going to see everybody else responding to your side of things. So it's kind of like this unilateral way of expressing things. You know, it's not like he can really defend himself in those kind of situations.
Yes. I actually had this in my mind. I was like, people here are being biased because they're reacting to my post and it's my side of the story. But
Mhm.
I wanted the attention anyway. I wanted people to like know about it and give me tips about it. And I wanted to know that there are other people there who went through the same thing that I went through.
Mhm.
And most of the comments were like, yeah, it's better you cut him off. He was a narcissist anyway. He was toxic anyway. So people would write such things. But in my head, I was like, no, they don't know him as I know him. So they're not experts anyway. I'm not going to take that for a fact.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, when with those online forums and communities, and even in the comment section, you have to be very careful because you have no idea who's on the other end and what their mental health is like,
And what they've been through.
what they've been through,
Mhm.
how emotionally, mature they are. It tends to be the people that are the most, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
The most.
The people that are struggling the most
Mhm.
with their mental health can be the loudest
Mhm.
and the most aggressive, right? Because they're
Mhm.
very hurt and angry at their parents neglecting them, so they take it out on the world.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about these Reddit posts. So some of them were just about how you were feeling, others were about how you were handling the breakup.
Yeah, I actually posted things about me going to the gym. We go to the same gym, and I used to see his car out there, but we never ran into each other until 2 weeks ago. So I also wrote about that, and I posted pictures about my progress before and after, and people also commented over that, and it made me feel good because I
You got
was progressing.
140,000 comments on those pictures.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so at what point did you figure out he'd been looking all along?
So 2 weeks ago, when I ran into him, we locked eyes for the first time. Um, and he tried to hide. He was holding his phone upside down. He was nervous. He was shaking, and I knew he was nervous because I can tell from his knees it was shaking. And I turned around and I hopped into my car and I left. I left as soon as I could. And I posted about that. I posted about that, and I called him a coward, and I called him that he couldn't face me, he couldn't put his eyes on my eyes, and I wrote some horrible things about him in that post, and that's the post he commented on.
Oof. What did he
Man,
say?
my knees were just
So I
shaking.
basically,
I was
Too much caffeine.
It was leg day.
yeah, it was leg day exactly. So he commented saying, I couldn't look not because I was a coward, but I was respecting myself and respecting you because I gave all the love that I could, and now I just feel disappointed.
Man.
Yeah.
You must have been shaking at that point.
Yep. Yep.
Did it get any upvotes or downvotes?
I was sitting with my friends and I screamed when I saw the notification. And I went to the bathroom and I sat in the bathtub and they took a funny picture of me. They thought I was just joking or something. And then I started crying and shaking and one of my friends took the phone and that's when she knew that it was him because the comment was in Arabic actually. It wasn't in English.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. And then probably instantly you're immediately going over all the things that you had been posting that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he read that.
Yes.
Hold on, I
Yep.
want to get to that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us some of those things that you were like? What was the first thing you thought? I posted that, and
I
he knows.
actually was scared that he would, yeah, I was scared that he would know about two things, the black magic thing and me knowing about his financial situation.
Oh, tell
Okay.
So
us
I
about this.
went through all
Yeah.
of the posts I've wrote and I checked and so when I knew that he had lots of money that he had in the bank, I felt revengeful and resentful as well because he never told me about it and it was a huge amount of money. And he also lied about his salary, so I felt like I was betrayed in
Wow.
some way, and it was a big lie. So I was like, why not revenge and take the money for me through black magic? So I wrote a post on Reddit asking people to do that. Um, and I later on deleted it, so I don't know if he saw it or not, but I'm pretty sure he did.
You're pretty sure he thought.
Another thing,
What
yeah,
makes you
another
think
thing,
that
because
he
that's
saw
when
that post?
the fact that I was trying to do the black magic through a picture that he had and his belongings and with me. So I actually wrote that in details. And then I noticed he would delete all of his pictures on social media platforms, on Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever. We didn't block each other on any place. So I was like, why is he deleting the pictures? But then when I knew he was following me on Reddit, I was like, okay, it makes sense now.
He was like, "You're not using black magic on me." By that point, it's not like you didn't have the pictures by then anyway.
Yeah, right.
Dr. Agaldado had them.
Yeah.
You know how many Dr. Agaldado Bados have been
With spells in
yes,
our
spells on our comment section over the years? Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You're in a bad place when you're trying to do dark magic on somebody.
It's true. We like white magic over here, so
Like Gandalf the Wise.
right.
I think I felt an urge of emotions that I couldn't think straight. And my friends convinced me that I can get the money. So I was like, okay, why not?
How that's a pretty distorted view on reality. They convinced you that you're going to somehow get his money because of,
We know there's some alternative methods out there, so there's no shaming here. But thank you for being vulnerable about these things because I'm sure that there's going to be other viewers that can relate.
I've had clients over the years that told me they've tried it and stuff like that and they regretted it.
Mm.
You said there was another major thing too.
I was just scared he would know that I know about his financial situation.
Yeah.
And I know about that by by a random email he sent on accident through my email. It was actually a bank statement. And I didn't want him to think that I was a creep or I was digging into his finances because that's somehow illegal and I didn't want to be that person. So when I knew, I kind of got angry and I wrote about it thinking that I'm gonna be safe on Reddit. So I was scared he's gonna find out about that. But now he knows.
I see. And so this is catching us up to now. So the last thing that happened was 2 weeks ago with that Reddit post at the gym, seeing him eye to eye.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are all the posts still up? I know there's things like screenshots
Maybe that's
and
why
that
he
paper trail.
maybe that's why he was shaking. He was like, she's gonna do magic on me.
Maybe.
Yeah, true.
And on
She's
his
gonna do a
end,
spell.
in one way too, for him to be able to comment is kind of like giving up the gig on his end. At that point, he made it clear, hey, I am watching everything, knowing that from this point forward, you're going to be aware of it, and it might affect how much you post or how much you don't post.
Imagine had you not left he not left that comment.
Right? You might have kept going.
Yep. Yep.
You'd be
Yeah.
blogging about it this very minute.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But
what happened? He deleted it,
S-
right?
yeah, he did delete the comment after letting it for 7 hours. So I think he maybe felt scared, or maybe he didn't want the post to stop. He still wanted to be kept in the shadows. I don't know exactly, but I think I think that those things were into his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's been no kind of contact with him since then?
No.
Yeah.
So you're wondering, what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a
Yep.
bit curious. What are your feelings towards him? Is this a situation where you are reconsidering the relationship? Is this one where you would want to just like have good standing with him, clear the air? What would be your goal with your relationship with him, if any?
Get that money. I think Dr. Agobato and her friends have made that her number one priority.
Well, I think there is a slight chance of us being together if he could work on his alcoholic situation. And I got a new job that pays well, and I'm in a better situation now. I've made progress in the gym. I've been reading books. I've been watching you guys, constant basis in the morning, at night, and I think I'm in a good place to date someone and be in a relationship with someone. But I don't think he is still, because I keep hearing about him going out and parties with his friends, drinking and whatnot, and I think also drugs is also included.
Mm.
So doesn't sound like he's doing any better for himself.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that seems like it's a core value for you at this point.
yes.
Yeah, so in order to even repair this, he would have to make a major change to his lifestyle, which at least at this point, it's been almost a year and he
Mhm.
is continuing to do the same stuff, if not more intense, more severe.
Yes.
Yeah, and I could see also with his age, he's in his 20s. I think it's really common in your 20s to want to be social, to want to go out and party and do these things. But there are certain substances that can get quite a grip on you and can kind of linger even into your older adult years. And so I hear what you're saying about now. It's been some time, you've been kind of sitting back and observing. He's been sitting back and observing you on Reddit too.
He gets his coffee, sits down for the day to read over the
You're
Reddit
right.
posts.
And it's all about him.
Every day he sits down and he's reading about himself. He's like, "Oh, I'm loving this. She hasn't forgotten about me."
Yeah. So at this point, I think what's happened now is you've revealed a lot more than you would have liked. I know one thing that we often say after a breakup is to keep your cards close to your chest. You want to be able to have direct conversations with people about these things, not just kind of having them read through an online post. But I know you didn't know that he would see it. So there's just that feeling of shame that comes. There's that feeling of embarrassment, regret.
Yes.
I can hear all of that. At this point, he knows that you know that he knows about the Reddit posts. And so you have the decision to keep those posts up there. You can delete them just so there's less of that paper trail if he hasn't already taken screenshots of them. What is a plan that you're thinking of now?
I'm actually thinking of just still doing the same thing, posting about my progress in the gym. But I'm gonna keep it limited,
Mm.
and I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing with my life, I guess. But I'm not reaching out to him.
Sure. Yeah, no, you shouldn't reach out to him. I mean, at this point, he knows all your vulnerable thoughts and feelings and everything you've experienced in this breakup. And that would, I think, overwhelm a lot of people
Mhm.
to think they're writing about me to this extent for such a long time. That's kind of like a weird feeling.
Well, on his end, you had said that you were you were the dumper, and he was the dumpee, and he had become anxious after the breakup. So he was probably glued on your Reddit. If I was in his shoes, I'd be thinking, well, what is she saying? What's going on?
Mhm.
What's going through her mind? And not a lot of exes will get that kind of a picture of what it's like for the dumper.
We just don't know when he found the Reddit. You know what I mean?
Right.
If it was 2 weeks after, two
Mhm.
months after, 6 months later, we don't know.
Yes.
Well, knowing the anxiety of somebody going through a breakup, it might have been sooner rather than later, would just be my guess.
If you ever talk to him, find out. If he doesn't want to tell you, tell them that you're friends with Dr. Agobato Gato and that you're going to get answers.
Well, and you're bringing up a good point. The two of you go to the same gym, so there might be a point where, let's say you're not posting on Reddit anymore now that you're more aware, or if you do post, it's things related to the gym, not things related to him, since he can see them now. Let's say he does approach you, or the two of you run into each other, and there's a conversation that happens. You know, at this point, this is something that you have to take accountability for if it's brought up, you know, and just as you're telling it to us, I didn't think that he would see it. That's also something that you can share with him if the conversation comes up, which it
Yes.
probably would if it got to that point.
The only thing is that I'm thinking is that he doesn't know that she saw the response, right?
Yes.
So you could keep posting like normal, acting as if you don't know,
Mm.
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can keep doing that because he doesn't know that you saw his reply or that it was, if that you, even if you saw the reply, that you knew that it was him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what if he brings it up at the gym? Hey, I saw your posts.
Well, be like, no, that was someone else.
The problem is
That ship has sailed.
he actually
But
gifted
you have
me.
my pictures on there with a rabbit foot in my mouth and a no, that was must have been someone that looked like you.
You were saying the issue is?
Yeah, I was saying he actually gifted me a bag with a teddy bear on it, and I took a picture of that and I posted on Reddit, titled "Belongings and Things," and I wrote about how I'm finding random things in my room about him and how it reminds me of him and how I miss him. So he definitely know about that bag because when he gave me that bag, I looked at him. I was like, "Okay, this bag is ugly," and we laughed about it. So he definitely knows that the username was me.
Yeah,
I
there's no
think
doubt about that.
I think if it was me, I would start to post things gently, like, well, it's been almost a year now, and he hasn't made an effort to talk to me at the gym, so I guess I'll have to start moving on, right? What?
I'll try that one.
He's playing checkers, I'm playing 3D chess, okay? Right? I mean, yeah, why not? Like, because that might prompt him to start approaching her.
Hmm.
I mean, if he cares and he's anxious, and now he sees, oh well, I'm not really gonna post about him anymore because I got to move on. He's going to be a lot more likely to fear losing her and do something about it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I agree.
I personally might play things a little bit more low key. His comment, you had said that it was really
But it's low
emotional.
key. It's not even direct. It's an indirect.
You said that his comment on the post was emotionally charged. He said something along the lines um of having loved a lot throughout the years.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
What do you thought? What do you think about our suggestions or ideas?
I think I'll go with what Craig suggested.
Take that, Dr. Agobado. I've got some black magic too.
I would also be posting about the health risks of using alcohol and drinking and driving.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Be like, yeah, that's actually not a bad idea to
Just
say.
because this is
I
a
could,
big concern.
well, yeah, you could
Yeah.
say something along the lines of, I was talking to a friend recently and he's got a drinking problem. And that reminds me of, what I was struggling with my ex. I was worried that he might get into a car accident and that we would have a different lifestyle. However, if he was ever to work on that and change, I think we could have another chance at it. You post that
Yeah.
before the whole thing about, I guess I got to move on.
Because the alcohol continues to be a big issue in the relationship, and one thing that we talk about often on our breakup channel is, you don't want to repair a relationship with your ex for it to end up in another breakup because of the same reasons. And that goes on both sides for both the dumpy and the dumper. If the dumper is not having those standards for themselves, ones that they developed through the breakup, then you're allowing your ex to repeat those patterns. Sometimes in calls, I'll think to myself, well, if I had that person's ex in the room and I was coaching the ex, what might I say to them? And
Sure.
how could that impact this whole situation? So just things to think about. I do think the alcohol issue is still kind of one of those bigger picture issues that you have to consider.
Absolutely. But that's a whole different story than, strategy wise and
Mhm.
what you're going to do strategy wise, right? But yeah, of course, you got to consider the alcoholism. What kind of relationship would you have if he's not willing to work on that? He could always relapse and go back to that lifestyle. Those are all different things that you want to consider when you're evaluating whether or not he would be a good partner for you or if you guys would be good partners for each other.
One thing I will say too, I know it does feel very embarrassing and very vulnerable to have those posts out there. One thing I can appreciate is the authenticity. You were very authentic when you were writing these posts because you thought nobody would see them. And so if this
Yes.
relationship were to be repaired with your ex and he would be able to kind of see your perspective through all of that and still want this and be able to work on those alcohol issues, I think it could lead to a greater closeness of, wow, I know exactly how you felt at all those moments in time during that breakup. Sometimes when couples get back together, sometimes they'll share that kind of stuff once the relationship's reestablished. Oh, I went so crazy during the breakup. I was thinking about you all the time. You hear that kind of stuff often. It's common. So I think in this case, obviously, it was just all out there. It's not the ideal situation, but it's happened. And I think you being able to find compassion for yourself through it is really important. So,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. And I'll say, just to touch on the shame part of it, a lot of people go through this. Like I had said, people will probably comment on this video too, just about their situation and things that they're going through. When we're feeling that separation anxiety, we will do just about anything to feel connected with that person again, whether it's black magic, gray magic, white magic, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they'll do anything. So
Magic the Gathering.
yeah, I just think this tells me how much you care about him. This tells me, the fact that this was a significant person in your life. I feel like that's nothing to be ashamed of.
And continue to look at your attachment issues and how your relationship with your caregivers is coming out in your relationship with your partners. And ideally, he needs to do that too. He doesn't seem anywhere near that. So
Mhm.
you really want to make sure that he's, working on changing his lifestyle before you really consider this.
Yes.
Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you,
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
and we appreciate you being on the show with us. Well, maybe we'll have you back on the future, and we'll hear some other updates.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we appreciate you being vulnerable. And this can also serve just as a reminder that what you post online is online, right? You might not be as anonymous as you think. And this is something Craig and I were talking about that we've seen also more recently. People do turn to Reddit, social media, and sometimes when you think nobody's watching, somebody might be. So
Yeah.
just be aware of what you post and the communities in which you get help from.